Look at this. Look at this. Is this Kirby? Is this the Kirby you remember? The side-scrolling cutie? I mean, he's still pretty darn adorable, but look at what Nintendo has put him into. All right, let me come sit down to say this, okay? Kirby and the Forgotten Land is one of the very best Switch games. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Hit that like button if you enjoy these videos and let me know what you think in the comments down below. I have beaten Kirby in the Forgotten Land and I am blown away. Look, I was very excited for Kirby in the Forgotten Land from the very beginning. Bringing Kirby into the 3D world and evolving this franchise as many other top tier Nintendo IP have done on Switch sounded like a great match. It sounded like it could be one of the sleeper hits of 2022, but you always wonder, like, is it gonna pan out? And frankly, in my recent video game life, big hype has often yielded ho-hum results. Not with this one. Okay, they have taken the creativity of Mario Galaxy. They have taken the Cappy mechanism of Mario Odyssey. They have taken the wait, Mario don't belong in New Donk City, out of place level design and crushed it across the entire game. Kirby in the Forgotten Land is exciting from start to finish, and possibly the most impressive part of this is that the game is not challenging at all. That will turn off people, but it shouldn't. And I think one of the coolest elements of Kirby in the Forgotten Land is how the designers at HAL Laboratories and Nintendo were able to take something relaxing, inviting, and totally beatable and make it so engaging. That's a challenge. They found a way to level up Kirby without swapping his genre, without changing what he stands for, without changing their baseline design philosophy. Now that to me is remarkable, because I would have made Kirby harder. I would have made Kirby's moveset different. I would have swapped out a lot of things, and yet this team took what Kirby is and just brought it to a new level of enthusiasm, excitement, and great gameplay. This is my favorite level in the entire game. The entryway to the theme park. And like, the levels are just so brilliantly put together that you want to explore everywhere. You want to find everything, because look at this, like the level of detail and attention here. I mean, we can even go here and take a freaking family photo, me and Elephant. Now that is absolutely wonderful. And there's just so many little surprises like this lurking around every corner. Kirby is a gorgeous game, not because the visual fidelity is super strong. In fact, off in the distance, you'll see enemies fluttering at low frame rates and you're like, why is that happening? They made this incredible scene where Kirby's walking into a busted up mall and they can't make the enemies frame rate right? Something's off there, but it's okay because it's all about the gameplay and the colors. The way that they have artistically arranged these levels is brilliant. It starts off seeming simple, and I would say the first world is the worst that Kirby in the Forgotten Land will ever be. It builds so quickly after that world, and you're entering places that are just awesome. A theme park world. I'm always campaigning for more theme parks in video games, and take a look at this one. So the challenge isn't in these enemy fights here, right? As you can see, they're pretty easy to waltz right through, but the challenge, I guess, is in just figuring out exactly where they've hidden everything. And that's a totally different kind of challenge, maybe not even a challenge. Perhaps it's more of just, hey, can you seek this out? We've hidden it, can you find it? Would you call that a challenge, or would you just call that experiencing the game? Either way, like, every bit of this is a joy to behold, and the developers made every bit of this so much fun to see. Then they do other super interesting things, like put Kirby in these dark industrial environments where he has no business being, and yet that conflict works so well. You got little Puff Man, right? He's just happy all the time, doing his dance at the end of the level, trying to save the Waddle Dees, and boom, fire and brimstone. And yet it creates one of the most memorable game experiences I've had on Switch. The level design is more than just the window dressing, it's the gameplay and how you interact with the world. The crux for me is collecting the Waddle Dees. And it starts off as a very basic flair, right? Oh, as you move through the level, collect the 5 Waddle Dees. Oh, transform into a cone, you get a Waddle Dee. But that's again the first world, and please don't judge this game based on the initial hour. After that, it expands. And I'm telling you, a lot of the Waddle Dees will require multiple level playthroughs if you're not careful. I consider that a good thing because it encourages replayability and the opportunity to see these levels and every little secret that the developers put inside of them. You'll have to complete this task in a short enough amount of time, beat this boss with a certain specific weapon, and make sure that you find every tiny path lurking at the edge of the screen. It truly does feel like Mario 3D World, but with Kirby. And I mentioned the Cappy element, where all of a sudden Kirby can Mouthful mode a car, a vending machine, a shelf on the wall, a giant ring, a soaring archway? I don't even really know what that one is or how it works, but it's so fun to fly as Kirby. And this is absolutely inspired by Cappy. Mario assumes the identity of the enemy and gains their individual ability. We are Roller Coaster. Blasting off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. One of the coolest things I've seen on Switch. Oh, this is amazing. I love being Kirby as a roller coaster. So freaking cool and such an amazing experience to play. And the idea works just as well in Kirby as it did in Mario. So as you progress through these levels, you're acquiring different abilities, you're using the Mouthful mode, Cappy mode, you are finding the Waddle Dees and being sure to search every nook and cranny because the levels are just that darn cute and fun to look at. Every new level brings a new idea. Every new world is dramatically different from the last. You'll notice I haven't mentioned combat because to me combat is an afterthought in Kirby. There's a lot of combat here and the abilities are an important part of this package, but it's something you kind of just mash your way through. All right, there's not going to be much challenge in terms of the platforming or in terms of the punching because it's just supposed to be something that is an extra piece of the puzzle, right? It's kind of like, it gets in your way, it's a little obstacle, but one that's, like 6 inches tall, so you just hop over it. I mean, I'm glad there's combat here, and it sounds like HAL really had to work with Nintendo to add enough enemies to make it some sort of obstruction. I think they did a nice job, and the abilities themselves are fun to use, even if the actual combat isn't much of a clash. It's those abilities that also feed into this loop of you wanting to play one more level, one more time, one more level, because there's the whole Treasure Road to open up. And I love that Treasure Road is incorporated from the get-go. Treasure Road feels like something that in a different game would be post-game content, and yet the challenges that are each tied to a specific copy ability are wonderful, and you play them from World 1 and on. You've got a timer and an objective. Complete it before the clock runs out, and you earn a rare stone. Those are the currency used in Waddle Dee Town to evolve and upgrade your copy abilities. And that's such a fun process. Seeing the fire flames become lava balls, become a giant dragon fire breathing flying through the sky is a fantastic fun piece of reward. I think this game manages to hit this perfect sweet spot where it's rewarding for playing, and the reward isn't coming from the challenge. No, the reward is coming from the explorative nature of uncovering all this game has to offer. It's just so fun. It's a joyous game that oozes charm at every single level. And back to Treasure Road, there are par times for those levels, so if you do want to push yourself, it will take some pushing. You will need to master the skill set that Kirby presents you in order to achieve 30 seconds on many of those levels. There's 56 of them, and it's a lot of fun, challenging fare if you want a bit more than what the mainline levels provide. They're never going to push you as much as, say, the Shadow Mario segments from Mario Sunshine, but they're similar enough that I thoroughly enjoyed them. Add that in with the post-game content, and you've got a pretty sweet package. Kirby in the Forgotten Land is a lot closer to the quality of a Mario game than you're thinking it is. And honestly, it's a lot closer to the quality of a Mario game than it probably has any right to be. For me, this is hands down the best Kirby game of all time. The main game clocks in around 5 or 6 hours, and that does feel small. I would have liked an extra world or two, but the experience is absolutely fulfilling. I didn't walk away from Kirby in the Forgotten Land saying, I wish there was more. I walked away saying, I wish there was more. And that's a marked difference for me, right? One is like there's something missing, and the other is this is just so darn good. All right, the boss battles are creative. The boss characters are pretty darn fun. The boss battles aren't that challenging, and many of the bigger fights amount to you picking a very strong copy ability and just going ham. Just going ham. It's an exercise in attrition, just going ham until their health bar expires. I will say that the final section is very cool. They do a nice job working in familiar faces and fresh ones as well. I only have 2 bones to pick with this game. Number 1, I think the Waddle Dee town experience is really underwhelming. All right, I loved it for the copyability upgrades, and I can see some people having fun with the mini games, but to me, the best part of Kirby and the Forgotten Land is the puzzle-solving elements with the Mouthful mode abilities. I love becoming those objects, and that is not a part of Waddle Dee town. Instead, it focuses more on the Colosseum and the combat, which to me is the weakest part of the gameplay smorgasbord that Kirby brings to the table. There's also a bunch of items you can purchase in Waddle Dee town, and for a game that really has not a lot of challenge, they seem completely superfluous and unnecessary. I didn't buy any of them. You can get health pickups, you can get speed boosts and attack boost, defense boost, but the game, even on wild mode, is not wild in that way. I feel like anybody and everybody can beat this game, and yes, that's the intention, but it's weird that there's all these extra perks and potions that I can't see even the most newbie of players really ever needing. My only other issue is that I wish there were more copy abilities in the game. I think they picked 15 or 16, but it would have been so fun to see even more. Like, I want to experience how the designers incorporate the wheel into this 3D play space. Initially, you're finding new abilities and changing them out, trying them, but by the end, I picked my favorites and I just stuck with them. I wish they would have introduced some late game to spice things up a bit, but alas, maybe they're saved for a sequel, because I would absolutely love a sequel of this game. And I don't know if they want to go even bigger. It sounds like that's where the developers would head based on some of their comments, more freedom, more Mario Odyssey style. But I think there's something special about the board game aesthetic of the overworld and the confined nature of these linear levels. I think you can pack in secrets and hide things away, make interesting, memorable levels that change so rapidly because they are on a set path. It's almost like an amusement park ride, and that's what I loved about Mario 3D World. Every level was something new and different, and they could try quirky ideas here or there, and it didn't matter because it's just one level in a giant list of other levels. Yes, big kingdoms like in Mario Odyssey would be fun for Kirby to foray into, but I think this might be his sweet spot. If it was to go bigger and bolder, I feel like you would have to mix up his moveset to accommodate. Remember, Kirby flies and hovers. He doesn't really jump. The platforming challenges are not really platforming challenges because you can float your way to safety every single time. The puzzles, on the other hand, though, work very well. They're never too difficult, but it's fun and clever to see how you're going to use the different Mouthful objects to accomplish your goal. And those work really well in confined spaces. I'm not sure if it would be as fun if they were just cones strewn about a giant open world. I could not put this Kirby down. It is so fun and addictive, and that is so strange to say about a franchise that usually skews super young and easy and usually bores me quite quickly. What fun is there if there's no challenge? Well, Kirby and the Forgotten Land unlocked that. Finding all the Waddle Dees will take time, more than the 5 or 6 hours I quoted earlier. But you'll get there. It's not like you can't, you just have to find it, and then you will if you get what I'm saying. It's not about difficulty. It's about just experiencing the levels they created, experiencing the world and seeing how things change and evolve and how different elements of the level can open up and unlock. And you weren't aware that they even hid that back over there. And if you had this moveset, you could have knocked this target, you could have hit that pole, and you could have made sure to collect every single collectible. I love the hunt for the Waddle Dees, and I think the system of giving you little hints to alert you as to where they might be is really, really smart. I'm well aware that many modern video game players want to make their own fun. Give me a sandbox and I'll go wreak havoc. Show me a city and I'll have a good time with my friends. Kirby and the Forgotten Land serves you up game design on a silver platter. It says, here you go, enjoy what we've created. Let us take you for a ride. And I find that absolutely beautiful. I find that special in 2022 that a game is doing something that not many games do. It's doing it without much challenge. It's doing it without much violence. It's doing it without much flexibility. And yet, it's doing it so well. I would wholeheartedly recommend Kirby to any Switch owner, and I would give this game a solid 9 out of 10. I think Kirby and the Forgotten Land has risen the ranks to one of my must-play favorite Switch games, and I don't think any of us saw that coming. We thought this game could be sweet. We thought they could do something special, but Kirby and the Forgotten Land is the surprise of 2022, and currently Yes, in spite of everything else that's already released, Kirby and the Forgotten Land is my current game of the year. So there you have it. The SwitchForce verdict on Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Another Switch cartridge just jam-packed with so much fun, joy, and goodness. I can't recommend it enough. Let me know what you thought of today's review in the comments down below. Hit that like button if you are excited. And thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I love y'all a lot. I hope you're staying safe, staying healthy, staying happy, staying positive out there. And until next time, and until the next great game, SwitchForce out.